Hello and welcome back to this channel. As the year is coming to an end, I'm looking back on my travels this year and talk about my favorite 10 places I've visited during 2021. So even though I was quite busy with many other things, I still managed to visit some beautiful places both in Europe and also in South America. Of course, COVID is still a big restriction, so of course there aren't countless destinations to go to, but I had a fantastic year and I'm excited to share my top 10 with you now. In spot number 10 I've got Alkmaar, which is a Dutch village in the northern part of the Netherlands. This is a super cute place and basically what every foreigner would expect the Netherlands to look like. There are countless little canals. There's a big cheese tradition there, and once a week they even have a dance where they present the new cheeses. It's really intriguing and you should definitely go and check out Alkmaar. It is still pretty underrated, so most tourists who want to see the traditional side of the Netherlands go to different villages, but it's easy to reach from Amsterdam. It's about 1 hour north, and as I said, definitely worth it. Talking about underrated, during my trip through Eastern Europe, I went to Moldova, which is one of the least visited countries in Europe, and Chisinau is its capital. Chisinau really surpassed my expectations because I was expecting a ugly little busy town, but in fact it's really charming. Yes, it's small, super relaxing, and there's an interesting mix of architecture to see as well. Many old Soviet buildings, but also a big Romanian influence. So it's super interesting to see. There's lots of green space as well, and just a great place to relax and start exploring Moldova. Belgrade for sure has a bit more grandeur. It's a big city right next to the Danube River, but still a very enjoyable place. And the most impressive thing, of course, is the big cathedral, one of the most impressive buildings I've ever seen, and the second biggest Orthodox church in the world. Other than that, Belgrade is a very vibrant city. There's loads going on culture-wise. I heard it's also great for nightlife and again a good starting point to explore the country. In April I got the chance to visit Colombia for the first time, and I also stopped by Cartagena, the city all the way in the north. Cartagena is probably the most touristy place you can visit in Colombia, but for a good reason. The streets are beautiful. It's a colorful labyrinth in there. Seems like it's taken straight out of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And on top of the interesting sights, the stunning scenery and the beautiful location right at the Caribbean Sea, it's also super safe to visit for everybody. One of my biggest surprises this year was Volterra in Italy. It's a town on top of a hill in Tuscany. It's in a beautiful location and the whole town is fortified. The Romans also spent some time there, so you'll be able to see the impact they had on the city. There are still a few buildings left to see, such as the big amphitheater. And I also recommend you to climb the clock tower. You'll get a great view across the whole city. And of course the best time to visit Volterra is during summer, because then you can get a pizza and an ice cream and you can get the full Italian experience. Also during our trip through Eastern Europe, we visited Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, and this is a grand city full of magnitude and treasures. There are countless golden turrets, many monasteries to visit, and as I said in a previous video, you've got to visit the underground monastery. You'll go down there with a candle. It's super dark, no other lights. It's quite a spooky experience. One of my absolute favorite old towns in Europe can be found in Tallinn. Now, it's not the first time I visited Tallinn this year. It's actually the third time. I love it so much, I just keep coming back to Estonia. But this time I went for a special reason. I did my first Ironman race there in August. I also filmed a full race movie. If you're interested in that kind of thing, it's now on YouTube. And it completely changed the meaning this city has for me. But apart from that, as I said, one of the most beautiful old towns in Europe, an interesting mix between Russian and Nordic architecture, and overall one of the best city trips you can do in Europe. A bit of a letdown this year was Bucharest, the capital of Romania. I expected a bit more of the city, so I went to Pelas Castle, I got out to Transylvania and the village of Sinaia, which has made it in the third spot of my list. It felt so good to breathe the fresh mountain air, to get out to the Carpathian Mountains and especially to see Peles Castle, which is probably the most beautiful castle I've ever visited. Forget about Bran Castle, Peles Castle is a must visit if you're in Romania, and this will show you a very different side to Romania than Bucharest. In second place, I've got the Kokora Valley in Colombia. Here you can go on a very exciting hike. You start among the coffee plantations, then get to the rainforest. You hike up a mountain, but from the top of the mountains you will see the biggest palm trees that exist on earth, the wax palm trees. It's a stunning sight, especially if the fog creeps back up. One of the best things I've ever seen. And finally, at the top of my list, I've got Bahia Solano, the Choco coast, the Pacific coast of Colombia. It's a wild and hard to get to place, but still super authentic. Overall, Choco is not considered a very safe district of Colombia, but the coast, and especially Bahia Solano, is really safe. But you'll find rural villages, authentic life, and stunning wildlife. Already the plane ride there was very interesting. Took a small plane, landed on the tiniest airport I've ever seen. There is no immigration check, you just exit on the street, and I got picked up by the driver, drove through the rainforest to my lodge by the ocean, and I got one of the most beautiful sunsets ever to end the day. So that's it for my list. I had some great trips this year, but even more exciting ones coming next year. I would love to hear about your top destinations you have visited this year, so please let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Julep, pop, 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 julep, pop, pop.